Hi, I'm Kath from KathleenRobb.com and welcome to episode 1 of Transform Stress to Self-Care. In today's episode, we'll be talking about why I don't make New Year's resolutions and what I do instead. See you in there. Hi, and welcome to Transform Stress to Self-Care with Kathleen Robb, the podcast for jumping in imperfectly to a happier, simpler life. I'm your hostess, Kath, writer, speaker, and personal transformation mentor for heart-centered women. Thanks for joining me. Hi, I'm Kath from KathleenRobb.com, and thank you so much for joining me on this, which is my first episode on YouTube and my podcast, Transform Stress to Self-Care. Now, I've been working in the area of self-care and stress management for quite some time now, mainly working one-to-one and some small group workshops. However, recently I fulfilled a lifelong dream and published my first book, which is Transform Stress to Self-Care. This book's now available on Amazon and Book Depository and all the usual places. And when I put together this book, there was so much I wanted to share, and I just loved putting the book together because it's one that is immediately actionable. And really the book just poured out of me in a matter of 3 months during my baby's nap time. So it was just a real labour of love and pure inspiration and joy to write it. But as soon as I'd written it, I realised the conversation wasn't over, and I just needed to get the message far and wide because it's so important for all of us to manage our stress and get the most out of our lives and to have a good self-care practice. So the idea for this YouTube channel / podcast, which will also be blog post, came along, and I can't wait to get started. And I look forward to sharing loads and loads of juicy tips and strategies, really quick, straight to the point, hopefully inspiring ideas with all of you and as many people as possible, as well as some inspiring interviews with everyday regular people. I'm not chasing celebrities. I'm going for people who have actually overcome things and been inspiring in a real way that we can all aspire to in how they deal with their lives and how they have transformed their own stress into self-care. So I'm looking forward to bringing you some great episodes in the near future, and thank you so much for joining me. So in today's episode, I thought, being January 2019, I really wanted to look at why I don't make New Year's resolutions, because making New Year's resolutions was something I committed to doing for most of my life until a few years ago. And then it came to my attention that I was never really achieving them. I was all gung-ho at the end of December and the start of January, and some of them never made it off the starting block, and some of them fell to pieces somewhere in January and were forgotten long before December. So I realised there was something broken about the model of making resolutions, and it wasn't working for me. And I came across other ways of being. I got really curious about what does work and how do we get more out of our lives. And I came across some other ideas which actually work when the rubber hits the road, and I can't wait to share them with you. So for today, I'll just be sharing why I don't make resolutions and what I do instead. And then over the next 5 episodes, which will be there to download as well, I'll be sharing a 5-day process or 5-step process for an alternative to resolutions, something that actually will bring about the change you want in your life. So the first reason, which I alluded to before, that I no longer make resolutions is that a year is just too long. Usually by December, we've forgotten what we meant to do in January. We can usually hazard a guess that we wanted to lose weight and make more money, or whatever it is that we're always wanting to do with our lives. But somewhere throughout the year, we just lose focus on our goals, and it's not front and center of mind. We return to work and new things come to our attention, and the goal just slips to the back of our minds until the next December, January, where we get all frustrated again and make our next resolution. So for the first thing that I do is I focus on quarters now, because a quarter is really immediate. We can see 3 months on the horizon, and it keeps us really focused. When I wrote my book, I wrote it in a quarter. I decided, right, the next 3 months I'm writing that book. And I did, because the deadline was right there. Whereas every year before then, I've said to myself, this year I'll write a book, but I never got started because it felt like something that would happen down the track later in the year. And then I'd get to the end of the year, Christmas was upon us, was too busy, and it never happened. But when I sat down a few months ago and said, right, I'm writing this book this quarter, I'm just getting it done, and I gave myself a really tight deadline, and sure enough, the book happened. And it was more inspired as a result, because I was really motivated and excited to sit down and write. So that's the first thing I do. So for anything I want to achieve, I look at what I want to achieve in a quarter or 3 months, and that keeps me motivated. And next, the other idea with resolutions is they often have an air of should about them. So people feel like they should lose weight to be attractive enough, or be better or good enough, or they should be further ahead in their career, or they should achieve something. And it's kind of a pressure and a stress, and it's just another thing that feels like a task. And with that heaviness in the energy of the resolution, it's no wonder that we push it to the back of our mind, distract ourselves from it, and give up, because it's just another way that we're punishing ourselves. So instead of having should goals of things I feel I should do to feel better about myself or feel like I've achieved enough in life, I have visions that are exciting, and I start with a basis that I'm good enough already and who I am is fine, and then I go from there and think, what would really excite me to happen? What would I love? What brings me joy? What do I want more of in my life? And that's where I have a focus, things that I'm excited and passionate about. And you can see that coming from that energy, I don't need to have the discipline to sit down and write. I'm so excited to write this book that I just have to find a way to make it happen. I don't need to push myself at all. And it's the same with other visions. When it's something that really means a lot to you and you can't wait to get started, you really just need to look at the logistics so that it's possible and clear that space in your life, and it almost takes care of itself. So that's the second thing that I do differently to resolutions. I don't have the should energy, I have the excited vision energy behind it. And the third thing about resolutions, because people usually make them over the course of a year and not over the course of a quarter, they're often too big, and we feel like we're setting ourselves up to fail, so we give up rather than fail at our resolution. So for example, people might say, I'm going to lose 20 kilograms this year, or I'm going to earn 100,000 if they've only been earning 40,000, or they set themselves really big stretch goals. And there is a theory that a stretch goal can be more motivating than a smaller goal. But I feel that if I'm not really buying into an idea, or if it feels too pie in the sky or too far ahead into the future, I never really take the action. It remains a daydream rather than being a very exciting, close reality that I can make happen. So instead of having these huge goals, what I tend to do is to have a big vision of something exciting, but I implement a tiny habit, which is almost impossible to fail because I make it so tiny. And by setting that tiny habit, which is so achievable, I then commit to it and do it, and I set myself up to succeed in it. And in that way, it's much more likely to build up and have a cumulative effect over time, which leads to that vision. So, for example, when I need to lose weight, and I've been losing a little bit of weight recently for my health under the guidance of a doctor, so all very healthily done, I don't set myself a big goal of I'm going to only have a tiny amount of calories a day, or exercise for hours every day, or lose weight really fast. I'm on a really slow weight loss journey, and that's the opposite of what you'll see in any diet magazine anywhere, because they all say lose a dress size by Saturday and that kind of thing. And it's too overwhelming. We fail or we lose our dress size, but it's through lifestyle changes that we can't keep up. They're not sustainable habits. So we return to our normal habits, and the cumulative effect is that we return to our normal size or we put on weight. And it's like that with any goal, whether it's earning money or learning a new skill or whatever. None of us are going to be Jimi Hendrix by next weekend, and none of us are going to drop 3 dress sizes in any healthy recommended way by next weekend. So it's better to just set a very tiny habit that will lead to the change over time. And we can remain motivated when we see that we are headed to definite success, rather than when we are very motivated for a week and then realize we can't keep up this massive habit, and then we feel that we're doomed to failure because we're not keeping up that habit. So it's a huge mind shift. I'm going to go more into it in the next few days, and it's something that will really, once you implement it, change the way you do everything. So to recap, the 3 ways I do resolutions differently, or the 3 ways I don't do resolutions: I don't have a year-long goal, I have a quarterly goal. I don't have an air of should about my goals. I have an air of what is an exciting vision and what will bring me joy. And thirdly, rather than having a big habit that I try to implement, I look at the tiniest possible habit that, through a cumulative effect, will lead to big change in my big vision. So those are the 3 ways I do things differently to New Year's resolutions. I hope you find something in there useful. And over the next 5 days, I'll be guiding you through a Jumpstart Your Happiness challenge, which is each day will have one step of something that you can do that is similar to the process I've just discussed today, to really look at how you can put aside the resolutions that don't work every year and do something different to actually create the life that you want, something that will work. So I really hope you join me over the next 5 episodes for the Jumpstart Your Happiness Challenge, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. See you next. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review on iTunes and make sure you subscribe. And until next time, take the best of care, because you deserve a peaceful mind, a happy heart, and a life you love. Bye.